Alright, depending on your time zone and your location. We are having a big news, and it's a breaking news all the way from US. The update I follow from the social media space, it is trending everywhere on Sahara, on Punch, on Vanguard, all the news media, Ibugia. So you know here from your screen, if you know the update says, Kanu'S U.S. lawyer, Bruce Fein, writes Justice Omotosho, demands dismissal of charges against IPOB leader for lack of jurisdiction. So if I have updates not trending now, Unmana during the week that NNAMDI Kanu has actually in court made it clear to Omotosho that now he should dismiss this case, no have any case to answer, that he won't be standing trial in the presence of illegalities. And this is actually what is actually trending as we speak right now. So, for long, this particular man who have a picture on the screen, Bruce Fein, has been coming all the way from US. He witnessed the court proceeding of NNAMDI Kanu. So, for long now, I have to be here in a court. Maybe he has been watching to see how the case is going. So, not until this time, in here from the screen, this update was made by Sahara some minutes ago. So, Tataka update on trend. The Tata the 29th day of October 2025. So, can go down in the updates. The detailed information in that letter this particular lawyer sent the Omotosho. We now going to see that Naya dismiss that case because it lacks evidence, no jurisdiction in it. Can go down here no focus the update is the update says, citing the 1928 opinion of the U.S. Supreme Court, Justice Louis D. Bredens in Olmstead versus United States, Fein emphasized that governments undermine the rule of law when they themselves break it. Bruce Fein, the United States Counsel to the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, NNAMDI Kanu, has written to Justice James Omotosho of the Nigerian Federal High Court in Abuja, demanding the dismissal of all charges against the IPOB leader on grounds of lack of jurisdiction. Yes. In a letter dated October 28, 2025, entitled Dismissal of Prosecution of NNAMDI Kanu for Lack of Jurisdiction, Fein urged that the Nigerian government should not benefit from what he described as its own criminality in the process that led to Kanu's rendition to Nigeria. No government should profit from its own criminality that has been binding law from the time immemorial. Fein wrote, invoking the principle that justice is the foundation of government and the civil society. Citing the 1928 opinion of the U.S. Supreme Court, Justice Louis D. Bredens in Olmstead versus United States, Fein emphasized that governments undermine the rule of law when they themselves break it. In a government of law, the existence of government will be imperiled if it fails to observe the law scrupulously. Our government is the potent, omnipresent teacher. For the good or for ill, it teaches the whole people by its example. Crime is contagious if the government becomes a lawbreaker. It breeds contempt for law. It invites every man to become a law unto himself. It invites anarchy. To declare that in the administration of the criminal law, the end justifies the means. To declare that the government may commit crimes in order to secure the conviction of a private criminal would bring terrible retribution, Fein quoted. Alright, Fein urged that both the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention and Nigerian courts have recognized the federal government committed multiple crimes in bringing Kanu into Nigerian custody, including kidnapping, torture, and extraordinarily rendition. According to Fein, these constitute just cogent crimes under international law, offenses so grave that no state can lawfully commit them, and therefore strip Nigerian courts of any jurisdiction to continue prosecuting Kanu. He cited paragraph 107 of the UN Working Group's July 20, 2022 opinion, which directed the Nigerian government to grant the immediate unconditional release of Kanu. Fein further warned Justice James Omotosho that continuing the case would implicate the court in the alleged illegalities of Kanu's rendition. If you refrain from dismissing all outstanding charges against Mr. Kanu for lack of jurisdiction, you will be legally implicated in the crimes perpetrated by government of Nigeria in bringing Mr. Kanu before your tribunal, he wrote. Okay, you will be vulnerable to prosecution before the International Criminal Court. You will have been unfaithful to your professional duty to see that justice is done. The Nigerian government has maintained that Kanu faces terrorism-related charges before the Federal High Court in Abuja, though his lawyers insist that his abduction and forced transfer from Kenya render the entire prosecution illegal. The letter comes amid an ongoing standoff in Kanu's trial before the Federal High Court in Abuja. The IPOB leader has refused to enter his defense, insisting that the court lacks jurisdiction to try him because of his extraordinary rendition from Kenya in June 2021. Kanu's legal team has maintained that since his rearrest and forcibly return to Nigeria violated both domestic and international law, any subsequent proceedings amount to an abuse of court process. His special Nigerian counsel, Barrister Law Ejimako, has consistently argued that the government disobedience of multiple court orders, including those granting bail and directing his release, further strip the court of its moral and legal authorities. Justice Binta Nyako, who has presided over earlier phases of the trial, had ruled that Kanu must stand trial despite his objection, prompting appeals and renewed motions challenging jurisdiction. The case was later transferred to Justice James Omotosho for further proceedings. Kanu has remained in the custody of the Department of the State Service (DSS) in Abuja since June 2021, when he was renditioned to Nigeria from Kenya by the Nigerian authorities, an action a Kenyan court has ruled against. His continued detention and the Nigerian government handling of his case have drawn widespread criticism from human rights organizations and international observers. Feyin, a former U.S. Associate Deputy Attorney General, continues to represent Kanu internationally and has repeatedly called for sanctions against Nigerian officials over alleged violation of international law. This case of Mazen NNAMDI Kanu got chipped to Nigeria Okunama, and it is actually going to happen. This particular man, Anapo Feyin, has actually written an open letter to James Omotosho. Say, if I actually think you're very cost your profession self, so that you should actually immediately stop that case and allow Mazen NNAMDI Kanu be a free man. Abu Mazen NNAMDI Kanu may go if one way but one year. This particular guy, Bo Kafia, Nazo Yoruba Nation, he didn't stay up to 35 months in detention in Wirapia. Why is Mazen NNAMDI Kanu's case different? So this particular Mazen NNAMDI Kanu legal counsel in Kanu'S U.S. has written an open letter to the justice system of Nigeria, James Omotosho, we na adaya kanante. See how we ake when no fe tupu we were akamado. Na Mazen NNAMDI Kanu is not actually going to stand trial where all these illegalities is present. You renditioned somebody illegally from Kenya to Nigeria. A Kenyan court has declared that his rendition was illegal. Still, you want that person to stand trial. On what ground? On what ground? Thank God Mazen NNAMDI Kanu me for any defense, because this would have been a chance, a privilege for them to nail him. Because if he had continued opening his defense, Hageway that my yes, Hagafu an option to nail him, and that is what they have been looking for over 5-10 years. And now, on this particular case. So thank God Mazen NNAMDI Kanu stood his ground, insisting that he has no case whatsoever to answer until the Nigerian government obeyed their own law. Since the appeal court have actually freed this person, first of all, only they free go there, return him back where you picked him from. Then when they associate the process of rendition, you have to write to the Kenyan government. And we process his age and all these things. You won't enter into another country, abduct somebody, torture him, put him inside a private plane, bring him back to a country, and then you want him to stand trial. If I come as NNAMDI Kanu nisiranya, chukokabama wenye obisi awana, do not open any defense, because if you do, they will look for something, just small something kahageji. At that court. So thank God Mazen NNAMDI Kanu stood his ground. It is not new. About attack with this thing. Allah Ejimako na Maxwell Okpara na Agria Kebu steady that Mazen NNAMDI Kanu would not stand trial in the presence of illegalities. And Nigerian government have continuously disobeyed law coming from the court. Appeal court gave a judgment, he did not obey. A court in Abia State ruled that IPOB is not a terrorist organization. How can I prescribed? And then Kenyan government said that the kidnap of this guy from their country to Nigeria was illegal. Still, Nigerians still want him to stand trial. On what ground? So if I can, this Mazen NNAMDI Kanu say one of his legal team, no U.S. Nicharanya, know that this is not actually going to work. Wesiko Buruzo, Degaro, James Omotosho later on behalf of this case. So James Omotosho, we believe and hope that the later Degaragi, so I got Nanya on the 4th of November, 5th of November, and 6th of November. Can we know what is actually going to play out in court? Mazen NNAMDI Kanu or DMPC any defense is not going to stand any trial. Omotosho will issue a statement that looks like maybe CIJ consults or somebody to be sure of the decision he's taking. Mazen NNAMDI Kanu knows his decisions, he knows his rights, he's standing his ground, and that is why he insisted that no case against him until the Nigerian country, Nigerian nation, and the government obey their own law. Obey your own courts. So guys, thank you for actually watching this video to this point. Do well to share the video. Can does always require we fit at the movement of this trial siaga. Mazen NNAMDI Kanu's issue now, Abrugo, an international issue. about this ongoing illegalities around Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case. So this is actually the update that is trending. They have written a letter to Justice James Omotosho from US, one of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's legal team. So guys, thank you for watching the video and see you guys in my next video. Yagazin.